Hi, this is Corey Schenck with the band Pangaea, and we've just put out our brand new album, BEOWULF. You are listening to the Dr. Sky Experience, Talk Radio 77 WABC.
And welcome back to the Dr. Sky Experience, proudly heard on Talk Radio 77 WABC. We like to call it the crown jewel of radio, the iconic 77 Talk Radio, beaming out of New York City, the nation, the world, and the cosmos. Heard in well over 173 countries and all of the 50 states. And I want to thank our producer, Richard Dugan, Dr. D, for doing, of course, the background on this whole particular Dr. Sky Experience and all the other interviews that he's so kind to join and partake in this particular program. Today, folks, a very special guest, and we always talk not only about astronomy, space, aviation, and weather, but we go to celebrity guests and great musicians in the mix. And today, in just a moment, we'll introduce Corey Schenck. Who's he? Keyboardist. He's with a band called Pangaea. And they've got a brand new album out, ladies and gentlemen, that everybody within the sound of the Dr. Sky Experience needs to find on all the digital platforms out there, and also going to their website. A new album called BEOWULF. That came out on May the 23rd on HMG Records. Privilege and honor to welcome our very special guest to the Dr. Sky Experience, Corey Schenck. Good afternoon, and how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing good, my friend. We're here in Phoenix. This is broadcast back on WABC in New York, as we like to say, probably one of the most powerful stations in the entire nation. But obviously, it's interesting to talk with musicians like yourself about how they get started in the music world and all the things that we talk about here. So today, just a little bit of background I'd like to read, if I can, about the organization. And this is something I find very fascinating because all the great musical guests that we get here have a great story. So here we go, just a little background from what's the public side of Pangaea. For over 35 years, Pangaea has been creating music that intrigues the mind and inspires the soul. Since their formation in 1989, they have garnered interest in over 50 nations across the globe. This is a very interesting story as we talk about here on the Dr. Sky Experience. So tell us a little bit more. I mean, this is fun and really exciting. The name itself, Pangaea, isn't that supposed to be a magical continent of days gone by? Talk a little bit about that, if you would.
Yeah, it is. So Pangaea is the theory of the supercontinent before the continents broke apart and drifted. And at the time when we, in the early 90s, we were looking for a new band name. We had been using another name for a couple of years, and we had made a huge list of names, and we were just looking at them all. And my brother, Andy Schenck, who's the drummer, pulled up the word Pangaea for one of our songs. We had used that as a lyric. And when he said it, it went around the room and everyone liked it. So he and I headed to the university up the highway and went to the library, and nobody had the trademark. So we bought the trademark, and that became our name. That was where the name came from.
Well, that's an awesome story. And, you know, as we talk about here, listening and reading, of course, the publicity behind your band was formed initially as, Arctica, 1989 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You and your brother, Ron Paulson, Daryl Mazingale, and Keith Chinker. But obviously, this is interesting. Lead vocalist Steve Osborne joined the band in 1991. Describe to us the music that you're playing, because we're going to hear at the end of this particular interview, the first song on BEOWULF, we're going to hear Tomorrow Will Come. And I find it fascinating in all the different genres, Corey, that we talk about here and interview with people. I'm always fascinated about the backstory of bands, you know, how they get started. Just to tell us a little bit more about the band. I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, but what, in your opinion, actually drove you to this particular career? I mean, this is fascinating. I got to hear from everybody. They all have a different story, how they got started in just simply music. Talk to us about that.
Sure. Yeah, it's just a passion for music. When I was younger, the piece that did it for me was a classical piece, Igor Stravinsky's The Rite of Spring. When I heard that piece, I was like, what is this? I want to do music. I grew up in a house where my parents played rock and roll, like the Beatles, the Beach Boys, and Buddy Holly, and they played classical music. And my brother and I grew up hearing that. And then in 1982, when I was a kid, We had on MTV, and the band Asia came on. Only Time Will Tell, Heat of the Moment. And I liked it, and then somebody said, you ought to see where these musicians came from. And by hearing that band, it opened the door to finding the bands they came from, which were Yes, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, King Crimson, and then suddenly that was like my doorway into the world of progressive rock, especially the British progressive rock. So for Pangaea, that was my side of it. My brother was into everything from like the band Genesis to kind of R&B and world music. Our lead singer, Stephen Osborne, is into kind of singer-songwriter like Harry Chapin. Daryl Massengale was into blues and metal. Bassist Ron Paulson was into heavy metal and prog. So we combined all of these when we write our music. We often get labeled as a prog rock band, or even kind of people call us, we have a classic rock vibe to our style as well. And those are our influences. So it's going to come out. But, you know, we're not trying to sound like anyone particular. We're just writing the music we want to hear and that we enjoy playing.
Absolutely. And it's great to expose your particular works, a legacy of music, well over 35 years, counting strong and continuing as we're here in 2024. But folks, if you're just joining us on the Dr. Sky Experience here on Talk Radio 77 WABC, many of you, of course, tell us through our emails that you love the content. And Corey, you don't know this maybe, but mostly for the last 25 years, producer Dr. D, Richard Dugan, and I have been pulling together, I think, some of the best interviews, not only from the world of science, but what we're trying to do simply is this, and it's not me standing on a soapbox saying this, is to open people's minds to things that they probably don't experience from the science world. But our legacy, if there is one, with a small L, we talk about great things in the music with celebrity guests and musical acts like yourself. So I find it really fascinating. Today, our special guest, as you've been hearing, Corey Schenck, part of a great band called Pangaea. What a name. I mean, from the magical continent that was there a long time ago, as they explore all realms of music. But talk to us about one of the earliest albums, and I probably need your help in pronouncing this. So your first release you had was a 10-song album. Let me try it. Les Collages des Exotiques Couleurs. Is that a fairly good way, or did I just blow that?
No, you got it. You nailed it. So, yeah, that's correct.
Well, talk to us about that. I mean, it sounds to me as if I'm listening to some French band of days gone by. And describe to us what that means in simple English. I think I can figure it out. But it means a compilation of what? Musical color or something like that?
Yeah, music colors. And we came up with that. You know, that was the first thing we did with original music. Around 91, we had stopped playing cover songs. We had become completely an original band at that point. And that was our first attempt at recording an original album. We recorded that at our home studio on a 4-track cassette tape recorder. So we did about 10 songs and put it together. And we put that out kind of locally, like at shows, and friends would buy it, and you know, and things of that, and some mail-in orders. But that was the start, you know, and then we've done quite a few projects since then, you know, much bigger level, of course, but that was the start.
Exciting stuff here as we listen to the story of Corey Schenck about Pangaea. But here we go. I got to understand this in a better way by asking you. I mean, when you get started in music and now all of a sudden the legacy that you and your brother and the other band members have built, I mean, who do you personally look up as somebody that's, hey, this person or this band has really given me such inspiration of all time? I mean, who would you look to as being some of the greats in your mind? And maybe some of the things you've learned from them and the style of music that they put together. I think that's an interesting question as we go deep into your head.
Sure. I would say probably the single most inspirational person that has got in my path is our producer of our last 5 albums, Robert Berry, who he recorded with Keith Emerson and Carl Palmer in the late 80s. He's played with Greg Kihn, Sammy Hagar, Ambrosia. I would say it's Robert. He is so musical and so creative, you know, and he has really been like a mentor and a teacher for us, as well as our producer. And we have been working with him on every album since 1996. So it would have to be him as far as just that direct connection. And of course, I have inspiration too, you know, in the classical world and the rock world of artists I've seen and heard play live. But I would say Robert. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing because we cross-pollinate this. We had Greg Kihn here a number of years ago, and boy, do I love his music. We actually got to see him here, and we're talking with the Phoenix audience too.
Yeah.
At the great, I don't know if you guys have been there, to the Celebrity Theater in the Round. That was a great place with Greg, of course. He was the act that was the main act, but he came on after Loverboy. But I found that to be interesting. But let's talk a little bit more about something that I'm fascinated about, and I think so many of the listeners out there know this actor who doesn't still get a laugh when they watch movies with the legendary Dan Aykroyd. And I think you've got a story that'll probably rock the house. This is a great guy in my mind. I've never met him. But tell me about the guy, the man, and then tell me about your connection with the music and the producer that you just brought up.
Sure. So we had been working with Robert as our producer, and then we had met a Hollywood industry executive, Dito Godwin, who had worked with No Doubt and some of the guys in Kiss and bands of that nature. And Dito took us under his wing. He took us to Hollywood, and we were doing showcases, and he finally decided we should do acoustic arrangements of our music. And then he wanted to record this acoustic music. And what Dito did, he put together a project with a mobile recording unit called Vortex. And we met at a house in the Hollywood Hills. And it was this huge home right there in the hills under the big sign, Hollywood is in the distance. And this home, it was owned by Peter and Dan Aykroyd, the brothers. And this is the home that supposedly we were told that where they did their writing and their work. They weren't living there, but it's where they did their work, like working on the scripts, their screenplays, and things of that nature. I do have to say I have not met Dan Aykroyd, but we met Peter every day. He came in every morning, would talk to us, get his breakfast. He'd drift off upstairs. He'd come down on his breaks and talk to us more. And it was really cool. But that was our connection to the Aykroyds. Yeah. So,
wow. Interesting story as we move around. Now, the band obviously has many, many great appearances, but one that you're so proud of in 2008 at the Houston Dynamo soccer match. You're out there with 12,000 people. And obviously that's another big, tribute to your band. But talk to us a little bit. How can people stay in touch with you? I mean, obviously, listening to whatever touring you're doing, we don't know that until you tell us. But how do they get in touch with you off the top to look at this album, Beowulf, which we're going to talk about in just a minute?
Yeah, the most direct approach is our website. We update it regularly, and it has everything you want to know about this band. That's Pangaea.band, Pangaea.band. It's got our story, it's got photographs, it's got music and streaming connections. It's got our store where you could buy a download or buy a physical album or buy a T-shirt. That is the centerpiece. So we are on Facebook and things of that nature too, but really the official website is the best way. You can reach out to us through that. Or our Facebook page.
That's amazing. Sounds great. So let's talk a little bit about the album here. And obviously, Robert Berry's back here and on board as a producer, obviously a very valuable part to your success here. So you're not going to hear this per se, but the audience will. And then we'd like to introduce this particular song. That's the lead song, first song on the Beowulf album. Tomorrow Will Come. So, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy, because you're listening to something I find quite fascinating as this band moves up the charts. And ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, check them out on the web. Look into the way that this band has put together some really iconic music. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're playing Tomorrow Will Come.
You're up against the wall. get up right after you fall. Some days will be tough, some nights will be long. The road gets hard, but spirit is strong. Find your path, move on down the road. Deep inside, take control. The moment has come, feel the fire. Finding your strength, rising higher. Tomorrow will come soon enough. Tomorrow will come soon enough. And I'll be alright. Tomorrow will come soon
So I thought that was awesome, Corey, and appreciate your time here today with us on the Dr. Sky Experience. But anything you want to say in the minute or two that we got left for this particular segment, you have the floor, and it's always an honor, privilege, and honor to listen to people like yourself who create great music.
Yeah, well, I just want to say thank you, Dr. Sky, for having us on. I really appreciate this opportunity. And again, for anyone who wants more information, please come to our website, pangaea.band, PANGAEA.BAND band. And you can find anything you want. It was right there. But thank you very much for having us on. I appreciate this so much.
Well, my privilege and honor, and we do appreciate your time greatly. And again, with a name like Pangaea, what a beautiful name. And of course, the album Beowulf. Get it wherever good music, of course, is sold out there on the digital World Wide Web. And obviously, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking to him and the band in the future as we hear more about them as they grow into this whole beautiful, dynamic music realm that they're in right now. Please stay on the line as we go to the hard break here at the bottom of the hour. And that concludes another interesting and hopefully exciting interview here on the Dr. Sky Experience, of course, on Talk Radio 77, WABC. We like to call it the crown jewel of radio, heard on about 173 countries in all 50 states. And what do I always say to everybody, Corey? Always remember to keep your eyes to the skies, your feet on the ground. I work hard and certainly appreciate everybody out there as I'm your navigator on the highway to the heavens. And a special thanks to our producer, Dr. D, Richard Dugan. Thank you, Corey Schenck of Pangaea.
Thank you.